I was born in a small ranch in the northern part of Walshina. I helped around the ranch from the time I was old enough to understand what was going on around me. My mother was always reading books. I never saw her do any housework. She was really cute. When night fell, she would go to the city dressed up in showy clothes, and carried by someone who welcomed her with a cart. It was for my mother's work, to earn a different income. That was my usual life. Still, when I learned how to read and write, I started reading books just like my mother did. I knew what loneliness was. No matter the books she read, it was written parents showed admiration to their children. It was written they talked to them, embraced them, or even scold them. I had no experience of such things. While I was taught my grandfather and grandmother's line of work, I talked to them, but I didn't hold any conversation with my mother. Also, the other kids could walk freely around the neighborhood. I realized I also didn't know what it was like to play with children of the same age. To me, kids became dangerous living beings, as they always threw rocks at me. Needless to say, I didn't go out of the ranch. One day, as I was curious, I went to my mother to see what being hugged was like. From the face she was making, it seemed her book was interesting. The result was only that I was thrown away, but this was the first time my mother had done something for me, so that made me happy. If only I had the courage to kill her. These became the first words my mother ever said to me. Afterwards, my mother started spending time in other places when going out of the house. At last, I too finally understood. To my grandfather and my grandmother, to the people who worked at the ranch, to the people that lived in this land, to all the people here, the fact that I was alive didn't make them cheerful in the least. What had I done? Why had it turned out like this? I had no one to ask. This land was the only thing in my world. Only the animals were my friends. Most of my days were spent working at the ranch, but there were times when I forgot my loneliness too. Then, 5 years before that day, a few nights after Wal Maria fell, was when I first met my father. He introduced himself with the name of the feudal lord governing this land. It had been years since I'd last seen my mother. She seemed to be really scared. Historia, from now on you'll live with me. After saying this, my father brought me along to the cart on the outside. That time, when my mother screamed, only then did I notice that we were surrounded by a lot of adults.